Good morning or good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to my show. This is Psycho Silver. My name is Jerome. I do hope that you're counting your wealth in ounces today, and also that you're holding your word, especially to yourself. Guys, girls, I wish I was wrong. Did you ever want to be wrong? I wish I was so wrong that it would humiliate me. I wish I was fucking delusional. I really do. Because if I was completely delusional, then I would have spent a huge piece of my income and saved it away in a precious metal that's irrelevant. I'd be spending hours of my time every night and every day researching silver, which is completely irrelevant and has no impact on the monetary system. I wish that I was just blabbing away to my friends and they didn't listen to me because I didn't know what I was talking about. And I'm like encouraging people to do something that this is way off base. No, I'm not going to trade my dollars for silver. Why would I do that when Bitcoin goes up and silver doesn't? Why would I do that when I can buy something instead of do what? Keep a pet rock. A pet rock from the 1800s. Stupid. Don't nerds collect silver coins? I wish I was fucking wrong, guys. In fact, if I was wrong, then my life would be significantly better in about 10 years. Significantly better to just be wrong and humiliated. I sure wish. But I don't think I'm wrong. I think I'm right. In fact, I'm all in. I'm all fucking in. We are at the edge and we're about to tipping over the edge in silver. And you know the big story of the day is Elon Musk. Does Elon Musk relate to silver? You're goddamn right. Elon Musk relates to silver in so many ways. How much silver is in a Tesla vehicle? And don't forget copper, lithium, what else? Palladium, platinum, all that shit. All that shit. Not to mention the phones and all the infrastructure that the whole smart world is going to be built on. Do you think Elon Musk would rather have you buying Dogecoin? It only goes up, right? Bitcoin, or scarce metals that the entire industry is going to be built on? I mean, it's really just energy, oil, and metals, and oil is energy, but you know, like oil makes you a lot more than just energy. I mean, it really is. It's the metals, it's the energy, it's the oil fabricated plastics and parts. Everyone needs food too. But what do you think they would rather have you buy Dogecoin or drain the Comex and there's no silver left? And I'll tell you one thing, doing this shows, I start to think more like an economist. And as an economist, I would say, and trust me, I'm aware of my own ignorance here, but let me just say, it's too late. It's too late. They cannot. The monetary system is too far gone. It's irreparable. The derivatives, the unfunded debt liabilities are a monstrosity. They are a behemoth. And the whole system, you can see it in the volatility. The whole system is also on the precipice. Volatility. When you see the debt markets are breaking, the sovereign debt markets, that's the foundation of the monetary system. At least the westernized world, all the way through the Industrial Revolution, and this thing's fucking breaking right now. Can you comprehend the severity? I wish I was wrong. I really do. So, my question is that I'm pretty enthusiastic about the situation with Elon Musk. I like free speech. I'm tickled. I'm tickled with the idea that they're gonna lift all the censorship. Well, there's a few pieces to it, right? There's the suppression algorithms. There's the outright censorship and bans, and then I guess there's a way to break up communities a little bit and throttle their reach. I'm sure there's some sort of algorithm that kind of lets them know which minds you don't want connecting that much or which communities is better to bust up a little bit. And sound money is counterculture, and we're so deep into this debt vortex of hell. We're so deep into it that I'm sure they just want more time. Comex sent out the memo. Yeah, the metal and the memo. Comex and the LBMA, they know. The politicians know. The engineers know. Russia and China know. India knows. And you probably know. I know. But you know who doesn't know? 99.9% of the people, they don't know. And the story on the Comex is like this. Guys, there's only a little bit left. We have more coming in, but No, you can't buy it all. We won't sell it to you, first of all. And don't you fuss, you're getting none of it. We'll all get more if you just shut the fuck up and we break it out in small parts and we get it to you and you get what you get. Or do you want to make a big deal? You want to make a big deal about it and go and say something, and now you're competing with 7 billion people for your metals. And it's not just silver. Silver can be first, or platinum can be first. It already went that way with nickel, right? But when they really figure it out, oh, there's not that much of this. They can always make a new crypto. There's not that much of this. Not that much. Well, first the silver will be gone, and that'll be a blink of it, the blink of an eye. And then what? They take the copper. They take all the other metals. I guess at that point, it's a national security issue, which will probably, I mean, it's inevitable. But I think they're going to try and price you out of it completely, to tell you the truth. We're going to go from where, like, you have silver spoons in your drawer and whatnot, and you have some silver jewelry, and pretty quickly it's going to flip to be so freaking expensive that you're going to turn in whatever silver you have to make a few bucks. And then after that, it's just going to be unaffordable. It'll be unobtainium and unaffordium. Kind of has to be that way. Even if we did solve the overpopulation issue. I've been ranting a lot. Let's get into the news. All right, we got so many things to look at again. This is pretty fun. Although it can be hard to do a show almost every day. But the good news is when you have so much material to cover, I can always come back the next day and narrow it down and finish it off. But some days there's truly too many interesting things to look at. I hope y'all enjoy this as much as I do. Let's get in over here. Here we have a tweet from Peter Schiff. He writes, Amazon is crashing over 20% in after hours trading on a Q3 earnings miss. The company also guided Q4 earnings lower to between 0 and 4 billion versus estimates of 4.7 billion. Basically, Amazon has no clue what, if anything, it will earn. Owning shares is a total crapshoot. And I did see this is from the 27th. So let's go ahead and have a look at where Amazon did land on the day. Yep, had a super bad day. Amazon down. That is significant for such a big company. Being down 6.8% is pretty monster, to be honest. Let's have a look at the 5-year chart on that. Ouch, that is pretty freaking ugly, guys. Man, I didn't know Amazon looked that bad. That looked really bad, guys. All right, here's another tweet from Peter Schiff. He writes, September pending home sales collapsed 10.2%, more than triple the decline expected. The index now stands at 79.5, its lowest since 2010. Excluding the one-off spike lower during the COVID lockdown, prices will follow sales lower. But the cost of home ownership will keep rising. Pending home sales collapsed 10%. That's another... Oh, I got the perfect sound effect.
Because it's mind-boggling to you, yeah!
There's a lot. The sound effect's going to get put to good use, guys, because there's a lot of things are completely fucking mind-boggling right now. I'm glad I found that one. That's one of my I want the best sound effects, the funniest. I always got my ear out for a good one. But okay, the last thing that I'll add to that, and this is probably obvious to some of you, but it was not always obvious. And this is supposed to be a show for beginner to intermediate level. Where homes go, the economy goes, guys. The biggest purchase that people make is their house. It's what they spend the most money on. It's where they anchor their lives. It's homes and cars. So whatever you see is going on in those industries, that tells you a lot. There's not many components of the economy that are bigger than homes. You have like energy, you have cars, you have taxes, you have food, but like homes is a huge component. So that certainly tells you something right there. Let's get on to the next tweet. Here's a tweet from Zero Hedge. Zero Hedge writes, what the fuck's going on in Japan? CPI comes in the hottest since 1989. Bank of Japan unveils even more quantitative easing to prevent what is J? That's the it's Japanese government bond. I knew that. No, I didn't really know it, but I thought it meant the banks. Bank of Japan unveils even more quantitative easing to prevent the Japanese government bond market from breaking, sending yen tumbling days after Bank of Japan spent $50 billion to prop the yen up. Prime Minister announced $200 billion stimulus package to fight inflation. They got some of the same insanity going on over there, fighting inflation with inflation. Oh, yeah, well, I'm going to need even more something. I'm going to need even more, I guess I can't be using this all the time.
Because it's mind-boggling to you, yeah.
I just like it because it's new, maybe. That's so funny. You know who that is? You know who that is?
Because it's mind-boggling to you, yeah.
Of course you do. Okay. On to the next tweet here. I'm learning to really like this account. This is the Ponzi Finance account. I've been seeing more and more just fire tweets coming out of this account here. Ponzi Finance writes, we're seeing the exact kind of volatility Hoover was concerned about that took place prior to the 1929 crash. Black Swan event is virtually certain at this point. Wise to tread extremely carefully and be suspicious of this nonsensical activity. And it's like, I feel this guy is more articulate than I am. He's like speaking my mind. The volatility. You could almost believe that things maybe do calm down and everything's going to be fine. But I see this volatility and it's not. It can't be. It's going to be. I'm concerned. And what did he write? He's responding to himself here. He wrote, September 1929 market grew very volatile. Concerned, President Hoover made inquiries to find Wall Street friends. Thomas W. Lamont of JP Morgan sent a memo reassuring him that there's no cause for concern in the future appears brilliant. 5 days later, without a catalyst, the market crashed, at least not a catalyst that we know, eh? And here's another account that I recently found that I really love the material that they're putting out there. Let's read this whole thread. It's a short thread. This is VBL's Ghost. And I do see that people that I respect sure enjoy this account. And I recently found it. And so a friend of a friend, I would say, VBL's Ghost writes, for what it's worth, last physical purchase was a monster box of RCM, that's Royal Canadian Mint. Got it at $4.50 premium, and it's still at the moment $5 lower. That's how it starts to self-feed. Asian demand depletes Western supply. The last thing to reflect it will be the futures, and by then it will be too late. Here he writes, just like natural gas and weather squeezes, spot does not rep for RON future until it's too late. But this will be much, much slower, which means it lasts much, much longer. Until JPN tells Comex it will default on the shorts, which forces Comex to disconnect physical from futures. And he says, you can book it. You can book it. Comex defaulting. He also writes, continue to be patient. 99.5% of the world has no clue what we've been ranting about for years. The only people that get it, I don't know how to read this. The only people they get age is they bank traders who will be willing to long when it rallies. Do not underestimate the ignorance of the masses. We are still early in this. Yes, we're really early. I felt like Joe Biden trying to read that tweet though. It's still good stuff. Okay, on to the next thing here. Here's a tweet from Chris Marcus. He said he spoke with a dealer last night who said it feels as if someone knows something is coming and is trying to front run it. And again, right here, Chris Marcus is not a precious metal, but we're used to the people. I watch his channel quite a bit, but we keep hearing, okay, it's getting tight, guys. It's getting tight. But we're completely desensitized to that language. I don't know about you, but I'm already passive to remarks like that. I'm just completely apathetic. And even though I know it, I can see it, and I have that information, I used to feel urgency when I heard people say that. And now I'm like, Once again, we have VBL's Ghost here. Like I said, had a lot of fire tweets lately. And whoever this is, they got featured in Zero Hedge. And that's why I started pulling tweets off there. Because I said, cool, they got a Zero Hedge article. How about that? He writes, dear gold and silver people, you were right. Be prepared for the world to start acknowledging that slowly. And then be prepared to be rich. Michael Burry writes, did you all just mishear a death knell as a starting gun? Yeah, I mean, we had so much terrible news, and yet the equities did pretty freaking well today. Aside from Amazon, holy smokes! I think that's what he's referring to, but sometimes he's a little cryptic. Let's jump into the comments on this one, since there's always so many. Let's see if people responding to this. Oh, there's my guy Ponzi Finance says that's exactly what happened, Dr. Barry, VBL's ghost. He writes, everyone is so obsessed on being on the winning team for the next hit of dopamine. They have no clue what's coming. Isn't that fucking true though? All day long. That's why I go and I check out Wallstreet BETS for a hit of dopamine. It's a casino though. It's not investing. It's like going to the casino and putting $100 down on a fight. And there's a handful of people that can do it, but that's not you and me. It's very, very few. And to the ones, kudos. They get to go on there and show everybody how smart they are and help absolutely nobody, because you can't do what they do. Very few can. Many try and they lose all their money. It's like watching a UFC. I love to watch UFC, but I don't ever believe that I want to go in and get in a fight. At least not like that and that's one of the ways I just think Wallstreet BETS and even a lot of even mainstream investment publications, they get you in that gambling mindset. They make you think you can do it. And God help you, if you click on any kind of advertisement on YouTube, you're going to get bombarded with messages of people that became millionaires trading. Imagine doing that, trading. The way you're supposed to make money is by investing slowly over time. So just imagine, and I know you guys know this, maybe I'm not making a super insightful point here, but if everybody believed they were a trader, you're going to have 98% of them are losers and you have a handful of winners. And I'm sure it's already like that now, but that's not the reason you're supposed to be buying these assets. You're supposed to be an investor. Of all the people that became wealthy on the stock market, how many of them do you think were traders versus people that invested? Maybe 1 in 10,000, maybe. And how many of them lost it too? I just read the book called The Psychology of Money. Let me show you the cover of this book real quick, and then I'll get back to the news. I want to show you this real quick. Yeah, it's this book. It kind of reminded me of a Malcolm Gladwell book in one sense. Well, a lot of people, there's been many people that have done well trading, done well investing, and they lose it all anyways because they've already adapted that gambling casino mindset. And so even the really brilliant ones that win, often in the end, they end up losing all their money because now they're just in it for the dopamine hit. And you take on bigger and bigger positions, or you think you're too smart to lose. Could have walked away very wealthy. There's many examples of that in this book of really brilliant people too. They're ultra successful. Even people that were making meaningful contributions in their actual work, but then they get addicted to trying to be a trader and speculating, and they lose it all that way. Good book. I want to read a bunch more books like that one. This guy writes, "You mad because you're stuck on the sidelines, Keck." This guy is telling Gary Evans here is telling Michael Burry that he's jealous. I bet he must be an amazing trader, this Gary Evans. Imagine coming onto Michael Burry's Twitter and saying you're just mad because you're on the sidelines. Too good. All right, here we have a chart. Households saved about 2.2 trillion during the initial pandemic, and with the pandemic stimulus, they've spent about 0.7 trillion of that maintaining consumption in the face of flat or declining real incomes, which still leaves about 1.5 trillion, which could easily last a year. I'm fairly certain that I did see that savings were very, very low, maybe the lowest they've been. So I don't know if that's just assuming people will spend all of their savings, or it's called dis-saving. And here's another book that I've been reading recently called Poor Economics. And I'm just going to relate it really quickly to the whole idea of dis-savings. there is a thing called the paradox of thrift. And what's interesting about human nature is people tend to spend more when times are good. So you're supposed to be able to save more when times are good, but they actually spend more, and they even eat into their savings. And I guess maybe because it's having to do with like recency bias, or it's having to do with the bandwagon effect. But even if it's not true, as long as they believe that times are good, they're going to spend more. And also, people will often, if they have a bump in income, they buy more luxury items instead of maxing out the things that are of the most utility to them. So, for example, even if someone is like seriously short on calories, really short on calories, and they could buy a big old bin of rice to make sure that they're not going to go hungry for a good while, well, they'll actually forego buying the big huge bin of rice. It'll feed them for months and months, and they'll actually buy themselves something nicer than that and consume it in the immediate. And we see that all the time. It's all of us. It's tough to delay gratification, isn't it? I just want to read this tweet from Bix Weird Heroes. The U.S. Mint has not posted any production of Silver Eagles for weeks now, and without any press release about ending the production. Very, very shady and also illegal, he writes. Something is happening, so brace yourself. There's a lot of doom tonight. I love it. Another tweet from Bix. He writes, Ventris Gibson was appointed the U.S. Mint Director in June of 2022 and has virtually shut down the Silver Eagle production machines while claiming she has significantly increased production. Something stinks at the very highest level of the government. Here's a tweet from Robert Kiyosaki. He writes, gold and silver prices plunge as Fed continues raising rates. Silver is out of stock, so I'm buying physical gold coins, he writes. Raising interest rates will kill the economy. Stocks, bonds, real estate will crash. Fed will pivot. Buy gold, buy silver, buy Bitcoin before Fed pivot. Take care, he writes. Yep, sounds about right there. And I just got to appreciate Robert Kiyosaki. He was one of the first guys that gave me any sort of financial education. Spent a lot of time in school and didn't learn anything about money or finance. Even personal finance. Didn't learn shit. Read one book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I said, holy shit, I can understand money. It's not too big for me. Thanks, Robert. Imagine if someday I got Robert on the show. Oh, that would be exciting. I think it can happen, guys. Please subscribe if you're enjoying this so I can get Robert Kiyosaki on my show someday. Here, I made a chart for us, guys. I wrote silver miners are a hell of a deal compared to commodities as well. Have the silver mining stocks not priced in any of the crazy premiums? Somebody ask a CEO what it feels like selling for 35% less than the price. Or is it just that the stackers are insignificant, so our premiums aren't really affecting the market that much? And right here, I just took a big commodities index ETF. And when it's high, that means that it's weighted more towards, this is SIL. So it's not SILJ, it's the big silver miners ETF. But none of the silver miners are that big, but it's just not the juniors. And we can see it's way up here. And this goes all the way back to before 2011. And this is just kind of the most long-term chart I could find. But you could see over here, we're still, even though silver and gold are supposed to move with the commodities, they haven't moved as much as the commodities have. Otherwise, we'd be more towards the middle or down on this side. And so eventually silver and gold will outperform the commodities, it's for sure. And there's a lot of room. There's a lot of room on the downside for this chart. It can go way down to the other side when silver, so the bottom of the chart's not zero is all I'm saying. It can go way down to the other side with silver outperforming commodities. And I believe that it can because it's also a monetary metal. It has industrial and monetary demand. And so we're just way out of whack here. And I know this is probably a lot to do with the price of energy, but you know, it's a lot of things. Silver should be going up. This is one of the ways that you just know there's some fuckery going on of some sort. We'll just call it that. On to the next topic here. Here's another chart I made for you. I wrote SILJ looks like a smoking deal versus the Dow Jones index. Silver is so undervalued, and it's even worse for the miners. I'm all about silver in your hand, but the chart below is opportunity knocking. It's knocking 3 times. And I say that because there's your 1, there's your 2, there's your 3. So the top side of this chart is when the silver juniors were valued more. And down here where it's dragging along the bottom is the Dow Jones. So stocks are just worth a lot more than silver relatively right now. And also this is going to change because it's always going to change. There's an ebb and a flow. There's a pendulum that swings, and silver's still money and it's used for industry, and that ain't changing. Oh, we're going to have our day, and we're going to have it very, very soon, my friends, very soon. Here's a chart. The worst year for 10-year treasury notes since 1788. U.S. 10-year government bond annual returns. And so I would believe that this is measuring demand, because it's not that the bonds are returning less. They're returning less for them, for the issuer of the bond, correct? And so that's that big red bar there. Or unless that has to do with trading bonds, but higher yields are better if you're a buyer of the bonds. Or maybe that's adjusted because of inflation. Here we have our daily chart. We must always have this chart from Michael, Silver Squeeze Michael. He writes, Comex registered silver drops to 35.5 million, still at the lowest level since June 29th, 2017. The vaults are down to 301.2 million ounces, the lowest since March 13, 2019. Open interest is now equal to 232% of all vaulted silver, and 1,969 of the registered silver. What are we going to crack first, guys? Are we going to crack the 300 million ounces to the downside? Or are we going to crack the 2,000% ratio between open interest and registered silver? Here's a good meme. This is too good to pass up. Fuck around and find out. That's so good. Oh man. WTI realist says, and they say energy is too volatile. Check this out. So they have the combined market cap. These are Canadian energy producers, and they're all combined in their market caps, and their entire market caps combined do not equal to how much value Meta has lost in one fucking day. And this is what I'm saying. We are completely undervaluing commodities, energy, the food that we eat, the precious metals, and it's all weighted towards these tech companies. And I believe that it's intentional because they're pushing all the money into a space that there's limited access to. Does that make sense? There could be so many food growers. There could be so many people producing energy, but the most exclusive piece of the economy is the people that have intellectual property rights, and all the money's getting pushed in there and collected in there, and then they're coming back around the backside and buying out all the agricultural land, buying out the supply chains, buying out the natural resources. It's such a conspiracy, guys. On one hand, I do sort of understand that the intellectual property and the technology is very valuable, and it's part of what pushes us forward. But none of these things are made. None of them are made without real goods. And you can find out a lot about what they believe by what they do. I don't see Bill Gates trying to start more technology companies. He's not doing that. He's buying agricultural land because there's a complete imbalance in the system. There's the example right there. So with the market cap of Meta that was destroyed in just one day, they could have theoretically went and bought all these Canadian energy producers. It's fucking ridiculous. It's doesn't make any sense. And that's how, my friends, you end up living in a communist society. I don't care if it's a private business that owns it. When so much decision making is collected into the same container, it doesn't make a difference if it's a corporation or a government. And it's not like there isn't a revolving door between the two, right? It's communism with an extra step. Here's one. I'm keeping a personal eye on this one now that people have put me onto this. Here we have the corporate bond index, and I recently learned what corporate bonds were. It's a way you can invest in corporations and get a higher yield, but you're not a shareholder, so your profits are not attached to theirs. Your guaranteed money it's a little lower than what you might get as a shareholder, but it's guaranteed money and it's a higher yield. It's a higher yield than investing in sovereign debt. And we can just see from the chart right here, we're over here getting vertical. Like this is getting high up there. We saw how crazy it went here in 2020 with the whole virus and all that. And again, I'll remind you, this is corporate bond market distress index. Sorry if I didn't make that clear. So the higher on the chart, the more distressed the corporate bonds are. And you see, you got really high during the GCF. Oh, it's the GFC. The GFC got really high there. And to me, that's looking pretty vertical. I think I'm more concerned about sovereign debt than corporate debt, but with the derivatives, it ends up kind of all the same thing, doesn't it? And here again, we have we're over at Wallstreet BETS now, and they're poking fun at Japan announces a 490 billion stimulus package to help fight inflation. And you know the comments are going to be good on this. This user writes, they can pay for that in 1 year with the tax on tentacle porn. This user writes, fighting fire with fire. Sounds great. Oh, there's the guy under him says, you're fighting fire with gasoline. You're fighting that's good. You're fighting a nuclear meltdown with uranium. Yeah. You're fighting your mom's obesity problem with Oreos. This user writes, too far, man, too far. His mom ain't fat. She's just experiencing some inflationary pressures, that's all. It's transitory, I swear. You'll see. This user writes, Japan announces 490 billion currency devaluation package to try and dig out of its debt mountain. Here, I fixed it for you, he writes. Oh, look at this guy. Echo Death writes, if you loan money to a government, you deserve to have your money robbed. Reason, you can't break the legs of a government. Yeah, you're pretty if they don't pay you back, you're just fucked, aren't you? Thunder Nipples writes, keep in mind Japan's economy has had the opposite problem as the West since the mid-late 2000s. Very, very low economic activity coupled with low, even negative interest rates at some points. Now they have the problem of an even lower economic activity with comparatively low inflation. They can handle stimulus. So he's making the argument that it'd be good for them. I don't know that, but hey, they are in a different position, aren't they? Oh, we got to see this. The headline on this is Guy Trolls Media gathered outside Twitter headquarters pretending to be a fired data engineer. We got to see this, guys.
How are you let go?
And apparently
this has got to be good. I know it. I can feel it.
I'm a data engineer. We've been having a lot of problems, and apparently Elon just came in and pulled the plug on the whole team.
Climate change. How are you feeling?
Terrible. I feel really bad. I feel really shitty.
How are you let go?
My director came by in person and did it, which I did appreciate, but it was definitely, it was to a group of us.
How long have you worked at Twitter?
6 years.
And what's your opinion on Elon Musk in general and what he's doing here?
I mean, I own a Tesla, and I don't know how I'm going to make the car payments now. Like, I generally respect Elon Musk. Obviously, some of the stuff he said lately is concerning to me. But, yeah. Now I'm really worried. It's really the culture shift. There's a lot of people that were leaders and, you know, things like diversity and equity and inclusion. I know those people are going. It's going to be a different Twitter in a week.
Elon Musk has spoken a lot about making the platform more free speech in his own words. What do you make of that? What do you think Twitter will look like?
I mean, if free speech is, you know, Nazis saying that, you know, trans women shouldn't, you know, use women's locker rooms, then awesome. I guess mission accomplished. We'll see. Listen, I got to touch base with my husband and wife. I got to get out of here, all right? Thank you, guys.
What's your name?
Sorry. Daniel. Thank you.
Your last name? What's your surname?
He could have committed to it a little more. He could have just taken it a little bit further. Come on, guy. That was still really good, though. I'm sure. Man, I have a hard time just fucking with people like that. I don't think I could pull that off. I would just feel too uncomfortable lying. I don't like to lie.
Is there enough short activity?
This is an excellent post from Wall Street Silver. This is George Carlin, and he says, This year for Halloween, I'm dressing up as freedom. It seems to be what people are the most afraid of. Good one. And we're going to wrap up tonight's show with a little bit of humor. This is Tatiana McGrath. And if you don't know who that is, I'm not going to explain it, okay? Tatiana writes, Elon Musk's annexation of Twitter is the most terrifying development in recent history. Only a fascist would seek to impose free speech on humanity. Jill Neese responded, according to Britannica Dictionary, here's the definition. So you have it completely wrong. Fascism, a way of organizing society in which a government is ruled by a dictator who controls the lives of the people and in which people are not allowed to disagree with the government. And Tatiana corrected this Jill and says, wrong. A fascist is anyone that disagrees with me. The anti-authoritarian wrote, oh my God, you're making this way too easy. What happened to it's a private company? They can do whatever they want. Go on, scurry away. Joke's on you, buddy. Here's a good one. Bill Gates buying up farmland. Nothing. Jeff Bezos buying up Washington Post. Nothing. Elon Musk buying Twitter. All right, guys. There's a million other things that I could get into, but we're going to call it a night right there. And I'll be back with another show tomorrow. There's so much more fun stuff we can look at together. And I hope you enjoyed this show because I sure did. Please consider giving a like, subscribing if you watched so far, and recommending to a friend if you're so inclined. I know there's a lot more silver stackers out there than I originally thought. And that's one of the reasons I started my channel. But with that, I do want to say, I hope you are in good health. And if you're not in good health, I do hope that you get better soon. Thank you for watching my show, and I'll be back soon. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back in a few hours. There's so many cool things we're going to be able to look at. Goodbye.